So, Scott, for the first one, we're going to do it's called Back to the Future, revisiting our AI or Chat GPT predictions for our college football conference champions. So, if you all remember, some of the listeners out there, and Scott, at the beginning of the season, episode 32, I believe, is where we ran a prompt through Chat GPT essentially asking it who it thought would be the college football conference champions, who would make the playoff, and who would also win the national championship. So we're only going to cover conference championships today. But to give you all a reminder, this is who it predicted in episode 32 when we went over it. For the SEC, it predicted Georgia. For the Big Ten, it predicted Penn State. For the ACC, it was Clemson. And for the Big 12, it was Arizona State. So before we get into the next section, which is basically I asked it to revisit its picks and look at, what's happened and make new predictions. I wanted, number one, get your reaction, Scott, to the initial picks and what your thoughts were now looking at it.
Well, I think if you recall, I liked the initial picks, but if I recall, I'm pretty sure I said Miami would be the ACC team. I know that I also liked Florida State, but I think I chose Miami at the time, and I think I agreed with the rest of them. Obviously, Penn State's not going to win. Arizona State not looking super likely out there. Yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting with that. I mean, there's one that definitively changed, and one that still maybe has a chance, but unlikely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think Georgia's still viable right now in terms of SEC. I know they lost to Alabama, but they're definitely still viable to
Well, I
contend.
looked up their betting odds just now, and Alabama is actually the favorite to win the SEC now, which is kind of crazy when they went down week one, but they have looked good. Georgia and Ole Miss are kind of a mix for second and third, depending on which betting source you use. So they're still in the hunt, but it does hurt that they lost to Alabama, and they have to play each other. Ole Miss and Georgia will play each other.
Yeah.
And likely what you would think probably would define who plays in the championship game against Alabama if Alabama wins out. But there's a lot of football left to play, so who knows?
Yep. Okay. So revisiting the predictions, Scott, here's what ChatGPT is thinking is going to happen moving forward. Big Ten, it now says Ohio State, elite defense, steady resume, and still favored to win the game and take Indy, which I know you disagree with. And you stated that, obviously, your hate for Ohio State in a previous episode, maybe many episodes. SEC, we have Texas A&M is actually who it's saying. They said unbeaten with top-tier strength of record, marquee win at Notre Dame, manageable path versus LSU, and a few others. ACC, it says Miami. So they have good wins over Notre Dame, UF, FSU, trending towards the title. And Big 12, it has Texas Tech. They're undefeated with road wins at Utah and Houston, and they have the best title odds in the ESPN model.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they are by far the highest betting odds to win that conference. It's not even close. And Arizona State is second. So I don't really disagree with them on any of these things other than the A&M. A&M does maybe have an easier route, but I got to think it's going to be Georgia or Alabama still. With I actually agree Alabama could be the favorite, but I think Georgia's not out of this quite yet. I don't think A&M's going to get it, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I will say, though, I will concede this. I do think Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten, and I don't say that lightly. I think their schedule for the rest of this year is pretty easy. You could say Penn State is tough, but I don't think it's going to be for them. They're at home. I think Michigan is their biggest test for the rest of the year, and we know anything could happen there. Michigan's won 4 games in a row, so we'll see. But I think Ohio State has a very feasible pathway to winning the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, it's looking like either Ohio State or Oregon, right? Like, unless something catastrophic happens at Oregon, or I mean, at Ohio State, I mean, you could have the teams are 2 or 3 injuries away from some, catastrophic things that could really hurt their season. But I think that's probably the most likely 2 right now. That it's looking like. Man, the SEC is so hard. I agree. Like, it would be really, really cool to see a team like Texas A&M actually go to the title game and win it, just because we're used to the same old. Like
Hmm.
usually Alabama or Georgia most of the time. So
Yep.
I'd like to
And
see
when not
somebody
them, it's
else in
always
there.
Oklahoma or Texas, right? I mean, it's always one of those four.
Yeah, and I mean there is just so many I think contenders as well that could potentially end up in that game. So I don't think that they're off on that one. I just think that one's very unpredictable to figure out,
Hmm.
like, who will actually, be there. ACC, I feel like Miami is most likely going to win it, obviously, I don't think there's a ton of competition there. I would like them to did have they played Georgia Tech, or did they play Georgia Tech this year? Do you know?
I can look really quickly. Let
I'm
me see.
curious because that's usually the game where it's like a big upset game that can happen to them.
No, I don't think they play them.
Ah, yeah, see, they're gonna get lucky this year.
They've run through all the Florida teams though. Like holy shit, they beat South Florida, Florida State, Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been
Yeah, I mean, they really don't have
their schedule's
may
cake. Honestly, for the rest of the year, it
I
looks super
mean,
easy.
maybe, it wasn't like is it Syracuse that upset them last year too? There was, like, definitely some random team that upset them. I feel like it was
I don't know.
Syracuse or I don't
Yeah,
know, some
Syracuse beat them last year, 42 to
yeah,
38.
yeah, so there's always a chance that one of these random teams upsets them, you never know. But Big 12, I mean, Texas Tech has I don't wanna say been surprising, but definitely kinda came out of nowhere to be
Hmm.
almost like, "Whoa, like, this is kind of a scary team all of a
Yeah,
sudden." I know their competition's a little bit different in Big 12, but
they won that. Was it Utah they played against where that was the game they were the underdogs and
yeah,
they kind of won that game and haven't looked back. Man, they've looked tough.
yeah, and I mean, Big 12, who I mean, like you said, BYU is probably the only other person, and Arizona State that I would be and, I mean,
And
Iowa State.
Cincinnati's kind of on the bubble this year too, a little bit.
Yeah, Iowa State can be and like I said, they can be one of those upset teams. I know you didn't like to call them that during that one game, but they're one of those teams to always look out for.
Yeah, until they just lost last week, man.
But, Texas Tech has to play Arizona State in 2 weeks. They also still have to play Kansas State and BYU and UCF. So
Okay.
BYU and Arizona, I mean, they're gonna have to run through both those teams, so we will really find out who's gonna win this,
Yeah, that's fun, man.
essentially.
It's nice when they all play each other like that.
So but yeah, so that's revisiting, kind of back to the future. So we will continue to monitor and we will bring up, I think, some of the other ones that we looked at, who made the playoff, who did it say, now who is it saying. I think it's kind of fun to just play around with Chat GPT and see kind of, how good is it?
Wild that two of those teams aren't even ranked anymore.
Yeah, I know.